Hi, thanks for joining us here on GSB TV. I'm Matt Tarkenton. I'm joined today by the great Will Adams.
The great Will Adams. Wow, I just got a new title. I kind of like it there, Matt.
Thanks for being here. We're trying to come to you every time with something relevant that you can use in your business. And I'll tell you, my dad every week reads the New York Times on Sunday, and Adam Bryant has a column in the business section, typically an interview with a top executive. So this week we're talking about an interview from back in 2012. In the idea kitchen, too many cooks can spoil the broth. First lesson is always be learning. Even at 77, my dad's learning every day. Adam Bryant's a great column every Sunday in the business section. But too many cooks can spoil the broth in the kitchen. Basically, it's about how to get things done.
Yeah.
No matter if you're in a big company or for more of you out there, small companies, we still have challenges around how do we get things done,
right.
How do we innovate, and how do we make sure we don't have too many cooks in the kitchen that impede our progress.
That's right, yeah, and it's things we run into here even. It's you're trying to innovate, you're trying to come out with something new. Maybe there's a project, a new partnership that you're working on that you're trying to get over that finish line. And really going through the article and really kind of taking a little introspective look at ourselves here, really kind of broke this up into four different categories that we'll talk about today, about the things to do, to focus on, to get you over the finish line. So Matt, I think the first one that we really looked at was ownership. And really the first part of that is, when you're making decisions, it's always important, like you said, to learn, to listen to other people. But when it comes down to actually making a decision, try to keep that team of decision makers as small as you can. The more people you kind of get into a conversation, there's going to be more room for detractors and things of that nature. So it's important to listen, to observe, to get feedback, but when it comes down to making a decision, try to keep that team as tight as possible.
Yeah, and it varies on depending how big your company is. If you've got a 1,000-person company, it may be, but it may be a certain size. If you're a solo or small business with 5 or fewer employees, it may be different. But the short answer is, 2, 3, 4, 5 people are probably enough to think about a plan, to develop a plan. The second thing is you need to have an internal champion, somebody who's going to lead that project. So let's say we've got a new, and we face it a lot in our everyday business.
Sure.
Okay, we've got a new project. Let's put Rachel in charge. Let's let Rachel be the project leader. Let's let her be the champion. And make sure that it's someone who's a doer and who can get things done. But you need to have a small team, and then you need to have somebody who's a point person, and give them a sense of ownership. I mean, it's an opportunity to develop a little entrepreneurial experiment to develop a new project.
And I think the ownership piece, that's so important. I think the most critical part about the internal champion, it's one thing to say, hey, Rachel, you're in charge of this, but they also need to have that confidence that they're going to have room to make some mistakes and they're not going to get punished for it. To really own something and to go do something, to put your neck out on the line, to pull people with you, to make decisions, to be empowered to do that. You also have to know that, if it's the CEO of the company that's giving you that direction, giving you that ownership, you're allowed to truly own it, which means you're also going to be able to own the mistakes that might come with it. That's one of the biggest issues we run into consistently within ourselves, and when we look at some of the partners that we work with, is that internal champion truly isn't empowered to own the good, as well as some of the things that might not go as smoothly, and they're afraid to make those decisions that because they're afraid of the recourse that might come from the company. So really empowered to own the process, own the good, own the bad that comes out of that.
Right, so small team of people working on a project, an internal champion who's got a sense of ownership and entrepreneurship. The second major point after ownership is a sense of urgency.
Sure.
And this is something that we deal with every day in our company. And most small businesses, one of my dad's mantras is he wakes up every single day with a sense of urgency. Once you're thinking about a new idea and a project, let's get a plan to go make it happen. There's got to be an emphasis on action, and there's going to be some debating about which projects are we going to do, but pick one, develop a sense of urgency, and go make it happen.
Yeah, and I think what the urgency piece really comes into play when, and I think we've talked about this before, Matt, about goal setting, specific, measurable, timed, and I think two things really make something, put that fuel to the fire, which is assigning a project timeline to it, and then secondly is budget. You know, once a CFO or the CEO says, hey, I'm allotting, this amount of my dollars to this project and we expect it to be done on this date, all of a sudden now, if it wasn't for deadlines, nothing would get done. And as soon as somebody says, hey, I'm writing a check or I'm reallocating my money and I'm putting it here, it becomes real all of a sudden.
Yeah, that budget and that specific timeline. So we're going to roll out a new initiative. We're going to put Rachel in charge. We're going to look at it in 3 months and 6 months and evaluate where we are. When you put a timeline and budget there, it does make it more real, and it makes it so it's felt by the whole organization. The third area, so the first area is ownership. The second area is a sense of urgency, and the third area is decisiveness. There can be, you can have ideas forever and you never do anything, but you got to get it out there and try it.
The funny thing is, it's funny as you and I are sitting here talking about it. When you're in the moment, it's not so funny. We work with a lot of different partners, and a lot of the things. And sometimes when we get into some larger organizations, you hear a lot about testing, piloting, which is good, and that's a healthy thing to do. But sometimes we get in the trap of, the analogy of ready, aim, 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 aim. At some point, you have to pull the trigger. You have to fire. You have to go for it. You have to go ahead and get out of a testing stage into a pilot stage. So again, I think that comes back to the urgency, to the ownership. If you've delegated that authority to someone, you've assigned them a timeline, at some point in time, they know they have to fire.
Yeah. So this whole article, again, Adam Bryant from November of 2012, talks about developing new ideas, and it's based on an innovation consulting firm. And some of what they talk about is, hey, we're going to throw out 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 ideas, and they have everybody in the company come back on a note card and say, is this hey, this is nice to have, or this is, it doesn't really matter, or is this a wow? So how do you find a wow, a new project? How do you then put somebody in charge who's got ownership, establish a sense of urgency, and then go out there and test it, trying to find those wow ideas that are really going to make significant changes in your business. And then the last point, the fourth point, is speed. Once in motion, once you start going, don't pause, don't second guess, or you'll sink. Go out there and see if you sink or swim. Go make it happen.
There's a great line within the article. It says, if you pause to think about it for a while, you will start sinking in the quicksand, and all of a sudden you disappear. So again, it's if this is the decision that's been made, these are the plans that we've laid out, it's go. Sometimes waters might get a little turbulent. You might say, oh, wait, pause, let's put on the brakes, let's slow down a little bit. The best thing to do is if this is the direction that we're going, we're plowing straight ahead.
Yep, and that's, again, that can be really challenging, but if you set up a timetable and a budget, you'll normally have some period where you can say, hey, we're 3 months or 6 months in, let's figure out if this has been a success or not. So no matter what size your business is, innovation is key, getting things done is key, not having too many cooks in the kitchen is important, and hope this has been helpful. Again, Adam Bryant, November of 2012, in the Idea Kitchen, too many cooks can spoil the broth. Will, any closing thoughts here?
Nope. 4 things: ownership, urgency, decisiveness, and speed. So with that, Matt, let's say goodbye, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.